I was cleaning my husband's car when I found a box of condoms hidden under the passenger seat. We've been married for 42 years and never used condoms. So I carefully opened each packet and dusted them with ghost pepper powder. What happened next had the hotel staff calling 911 in a panic. My name is Willa. I'm 62 years old and I've been a nurse for 40 of those years. I worked the night shift at County Hospital for 15 years, changing bedpans, holding patients' hands at 3 a.m., missing sleep and holidays. All so my husband Ray could go to law school. I raised our daughter Emma while he built his practice. I put my career on hold. I moved cities for his jobs. I became the supporting character in his life. For 42 years, I told myself it was worth it, that his success was our success, that the sacrifices meant something. Then I found the receipt. It was a Thursday afternoon. I was looking for our insurance card in Ray's wallet, and there it was. A crumpled receipt from the Westbrook Hotel dated March 15th, our 42nd wedding anniversary, the night he'd told me he had to work late at the firm, the night I'd spent alone, reheating leftovers and watching old movies, telling myself it was fine, that after all these years, we didn't need fancy celebrations, but apparently Ray did, just not with me. The receipt showed room service charges, champagne, chocolate-covered strawberries, a bottle of wine, total of $347.82. I sat on our bed, the bed we'd shared for 4 decades, and stared at that slip of paper until the numbers blurred. My chest felt tight, like someone was sitting on it, like the heart attack patients I'd treated in the ER described. But this wasn't my heart stopping. This was my heart breaking. I wanted to be wrong. God, I wanted to be wrong. Maybe it was a business expense he'd forgotten to mention. Maybe he was planning a surprise for me and the date was wrong. Maybe there was some other reasonable explanation that would make this all make sense. But I'm a nurse. I'm trained to see patterns, to notice details, to read symptoms. And once I started looking, really looking, the symptoms of infidelity were everywhere. The late nights had started about 8 months ago. Big case, Ray would say, kissing my forehead as he grabbed his briefcase. Don't wait up, Wills. At first, it was once a week, then twice. Now it was every Tuesday and Thursday, like clockwork, regular as a prescription schedule. 3 months ago, he'd joined a gym. My husband, who once told me that people who exercise are just showing off their insecurity. The man who'd spent 40 years avoiding physical activity suddenly cared about fitness. At 61 years old, he was buying protein powder and wearing athletic clothes I'd never seen before. He'd started dyeing his hair too, covering the salt and pepper gray I'd always loved, the gray that made him look distinguished. Staying competitive, he'd explained when I asked. The young lawyers at the firm are all so polished. Can't look like someone's grandfather. But the thing that should have tipped me off months ago was the cologne. For 40 years, I'd picked out Ray's cologne every Christmas. Old Spice, the same kind his father wore. It was tradition. It was us. But 6 months ago, he'd come home wearing something different, something expensive and woody and sharp that I'd never smelled before. When I asked about it, he'd shrugged. Got it at the mall. Thought I'd try something new. New cologne. New gym membership, new hair color, a new man, practically, but still the same old wife at home. Still me with my reading glasses and my sensible shoes and my gray hair that I'd never bothered to dye because Ray always said he loved it natural. I should have known then, but I trusted him. I'd built my entire life on trusting him. I put the receipt back in his wallet, exactly where I'd found it. Then I sat there on our bed and thought about my mother. My mother stayed with my father for 51 years. Everyone knew he cheated. Everyone. The women at church would whisper and shoot her pitying looks, and she'd hold her head high and pretend she didn't notice. She died at 73, bitter and small. Her last words to me were, "Don't repeat my mistake, Willa. Don't waste your life on a man who doesn't deserve it." But I had. I had ignored the signs. I'd made excuses. I'd convinced myself that loyalty and devotion would be enough. That night, I made Ray's favorite dinner, pot roast, the way his mother used to make it. He came home at 7:30, loosened his tie, and kissed the top of my head. "Smells great, Wills," he said, using the nickname he'd called me since college. The nickname that used to make me feel loved and now just felt like a habit. "What's the occasion?" "No occasion," I replied, setting his plate down in front of him. My voice was steady, calm. "Just Felt like cooking. We ate in silence. Or rather, Ray ate while scrolling through his phone. I pushed food around my plate, watching him. He'd lost weight. His face looked different somehow. Younger, lighter, happier. He had the look of a man in love, just not with me. Every few minutes, his phone would buzz, and he'd glance at it and smile. A soft, private smile I hadn't seen directed at me in years. The kind of smile he used to give me when we were young, when we'd stay up all night talking about our dreams, when he'd look at me like I was the only person in the world who mattered. "I need to run to the store," I said after dinner, grabbing my purse. "We're out of milk." "Okay," Ray said, not looking up. He was typing something, still smiling. I didn't go to the store. I went to the garage. Ray's Mercedes was parked in its usual spot. He was meticulous about that car, washing it every Sunday, keeping the interior pristine, treating it better than he'd treated me in years. I opened the driver's side door and the dome light came on, flooding the interior with harsh white light. I sat in the passenger seat, breathing in the smell of leather and that new cologne. The scent that wasn't mine, wasn't ours, wasn't part of our 42 years together. I checked the glove compartment first. Registration, insurance papers, a stack of napkins from fast food places. Ray hated fast food. He said it was beneath him, that he didn't understand how people could put that garbage in their bodies. But here were napkins from McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, places he'd never admit to going. The console between the seats held loose change, a tire pressure gauge, his sunglasses. Nothing unusual, nothing incriminating. I was about to give up when I saw the edge of a plastic bag under the passenger seat pushed far back into the shadows. I reached down and pulled it out with trembling fingers. CVS bag. Inside was a box. Trojan condoms, ultra-thin, 12 count. I stared at that box for what felt like hours. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. We hadn't used condoms in over 30 years, not since I'd had my hysterectomy at 42 when Emma was 10. And we hadn't been intimate at all in the last 5 years. Ray said it was his blood pressure medication killing his libido. He'd seemed genuinely upset about it, frustrated with his body's betrayal. I'd believed him. I'd even felt guilty, like somehow my aging body had failed to inspire him anymore, like the weight I'd gained and the wrinkles I'd earned had made me undesirable. But here was proof that his libido was just fine. He just didn't want me. My hands were shaking as I opened the box. 4 were missing. 8 remained, lined up in their little packets like soldiers, like evidence, like the truth I'd been too blind or too trusting or too stupid to see. I put the box back in the bag and kept searching, my movements mechanical now. Check everything, document everything, miss nothing. Wedged between the seat and the console, I found a purple velvet scrunchie, the kind young women wore, the kind I'd stopped wearing 20 years ago when my hair got too thin for anything but plain black elastic bands. Under the driver's side floor mat, I found more receipts, 3 of them, from restaurants in the next town over. Francesca's Italian Bistro, the Riverside Grill, Chez Pierre, places Ray had never taken me because he said they were overpriced tourist traps and not worth the drive. But apparently, they were worth it for someone. I took pictures of everything with my phone, the condoms, the receipts, the scrunchie. My hands were steady now. 40 years of nursing had taught me to function in crisis mode, to compartmentalize, to do what needed to be done, even when your world was falling apart. Ray was already in bed when I came upstairs, snoring softly, one arm flung over my side of the mattress like he owned the whole bed now. Like he owned everything. The house I'd helped pay for, the life I'd helped build, the trust I'd given him freely for 42 years. I didn't sleep that night. I lay next to him in the dark, listening to him breathe, and thought about everything we'd been through together. Meeting in college when we were both 20, him in pre-law, me in nursing school. Getting married right after graduation in a small ceremony because we couldn't afford anything fancy. Those early years when we had nothing but each other and it felt like enough. I thought about working double shifts while pregnant with Emma so Ray could study for the bar exam, about the nights I'd come home exhausted and he'd have dinner waiting, and we'd laugh about his terrible cooking but eat it anyway because we were in it together. I thought about when he passed the bar and got his first job at a small firm, how We'd celebrated with cheap champagne and made love on our terrible secondhand couch because we couldn't wait to get to the bedroom. When had it changed? When had we stopped being partners and become just two people who happened to live in the same house? Maybe it was gradual. Maybe it happened so slowly I didn't notice. Ray's career took off, and suddenly he was working longer hours, taking on bigger cases, making partner. We moved to a bigger house in a better neighborhood. We joined the country club. We went to firm parties where I'd stand next to him in a dress that cost more than my first car, smiling and playing the supportive wife while he networked. I'd retired early to take care of my parents when they got sick. First my dad with his Alzheimer's, then my mom with her cancer. Ray said it made sense. His salary could support us, and someone needed to be there for them. So I gave up my career, the work I loved, the patients who needed me. I became a full-time caregiver, then a full-time housewife, and somewhere in there, I disappeared. I'd become an accessory to Ray's life instead of a partner in it. At 3 a.m., I got up and went to the kitchen, made myself tea and sat at the table where we'd celebrated Emma's graduation, where we'd hosted Thanksgiving dinners, where Ray had proposed to me 43 years ago with a ring he'd saved for 6 months to buy. I thought about Emma, my daughter, my beautiful, strong daughter who I'd raised to never settle, to never accept less than she deserved, to never let a man define her worth. What kind of example was I setting if I stayed? If I swallowed this humiliation and played the devoted wife while my husband had his cake and ate it too? But I also thought about what leaving would mean. This house. I'd scrubbed every floor, painted every wall, planted every flower in the garden. My retirement, tied up in Ray's pension plan because I'd left my career to support his, my identity, Ray's wife, Emma's mother, who was Willa on her own. By the time the sun came up, I'd made my decision. I wasn't leaving. Not yet. I needed to know who she was first. Saturday morning, Ray slept in like always. I made coffee and called my best friend Emily. Emily and I had known each other for 35 years. We met when Emma and her daughter Sophie were in preschool together, both of us exhausted young mothers bonding over terrible coffee in the church basement while our kids played. We'd been through everything together, her messy divorce when Sophie was 10, my father's death, both our daughters' weddings. Em? I said when she answered. Can you come over? I need to talk. Of course, she said immediately, her voice still gravelly with sleep. Is everything okay? You sound upset. I am upset, I admitted. I think Ray's having an affair. There was a pause. Oh, Willa. Oh, honey, are you sure? Pretty sure. Can you just come, please? I'll be there in 20 minutes. She arrived with a box of donuts from our favorite bakery and 2 lattes. We sat at the kitchen table. Ray was still upstairs, and I showed her everything. The hotel receipt, the photos of the condoms, the scrunchie, the restaurant receipts. Emily's face crumpled as she looked at each piece of evidence. Willa, I'm so sorry. This is awful. I don't know what to do, I said, and felt tears start to well up. 40 years of holding everything together, and I was finally breaking. I feel like such a fool. How did I not see it? You're not a fool, Emily said, but she wouldn't quite meet my eyes. You trusted him. That's not foolish, that's love. What do I do, Em? Do I confront him? Do I hire a private investigator? Do I— Wait, Emily grabbed my hand, squeezing too tight. Willa, maybe you should give him a chance to explain first, before you do anything drastic. I stared at her. A chance to explain condoms? I just mean, marriage is complicated. 42 years is a long time. Maybe he's going through something, a crisis, or— Are you defending him? I pulled my hand away. Em, he's cheating on me. I know. I just don't want you to do something you'll regret. Maybe talk to him first. Maybe it's not as bad as it looks. Maybe it's just what? I was getting angry now. Just a midlife crisis? Just a phase? Just boys being boys? No, that's not what I meant. Emily stood abruptly. I just think you should be careful. Think it through before you make any big decisions. You sound like you're trying to protect him. I'm trying to protect you, she said, but her voice cracked. Look, I have to go. Sophie needs me to watch the kids. I forgot I promised her. It's Saturday, I said slowly. Sophie takes the kids to her mother-in-law's house every Saturday. You told me that last week. Emily's face flushed red. Right. I mean, she changed plans. She asked me last minute. I have to go, Willa. I'll call you later, okay? She practically ran out of the house, leaving her latte half-finished on my table. I sat there in the silence, my mind racing. Emily's reaction felt wrong. The way she'd avoided my eyes, the way she'd defended Ray, the way she'd rushed out when I pressed her. Emily knew something. My best friend of 35 years knew something about my husband's affair, and she wasn't telling me. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. It couldn't be. She'd held my hand through my father's funeral. She'd helped me pick out Emma's wedding dress. She'd been there for every major moment of my life. But then I thought about the last few months, how she'd defended Ray more than once when I'd complained about his distance. And his age go through phases, she'd said just last month when I mentioned Ray seemed distant. Give him space. He'll come back around. Had she been protecting him or protecting herself? I needed to know. I needed to know everything. That Tuesday, I put my plan into motion. I'm going to visit my sister in Portland, I told Ray at breakfast. Carol's having some health issues. I'll be back Thursday. Ray looked surprised, then almost relieved. Oh, well, give Carol my best. Drive safe, Wills. He kissed my cheek. His lips felt like ice against my skin. Packed a bag, made a show of loading my car, and drove away at 10 a.m. Ray left for work at 10:30. I watched him go from down the street where I'd circled back and parked, but I didn't go to Portland. I followed him. I'd never followed anyone before. It felt surreal, like I was acting out a scene from a bad TV movie. I stayed 3 cars back, my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. My hands were sweating on the steering wheel. Ray didn't go to his office downtown. He stopped at Starbucks, got coffee, 2 coffees, I noticed, then drove to the nice part of town, the new luxury condos where all the young professionals were moving, the ones with the doorman and the rooftop pool and the organic grocery on the ground floor. He parked in the visitor lot and sat in his car for a few minutes, checking his phone, fixing his hair in the rearview mirror. Then he got out, grabbed both coffee cups and a small gift bag from the passenger seat and walked to Building C. I parked across the street behind a delivery truck and watched. He pressed a buzzer. A minute later, the door clicked open and he went inside, a spring in his step I hadn't seen in years. I waited, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I felt sick. I wanted to leave. I wanted to storm in there. I wanted to disappear entirely. 23 minutes later, I watched the clock on my dashboard, counting every minute. Another car pulled into the lot, a silver Honda Civic, Emily's car. I stopped breathing. I watched my best friend of 35 years park in the spot next to Ray's Mercedes, watched her check her reflection in the side mirror, touch up her lipstick, smooth down her dress, a dress I'd helped her pick out just last month, telling her how beautiful she looked in it, how the blue brought out her eyes. She grabbed her purse and walked to Building C, pressed the same buzzer Ray had pressed. A minute later, she went inside. I sat there in my car and screamed. I screamed until my throat was raw and burning, until I had no voice left, until a woman walking her dog stopped and stared at me with concern, and I had to force myself to stop, to breathe, to not completely fall apart right there. Emily, not just Ray's mistress, my best friend, the woman who'd held Emma as a baby, who'd been at our wedding, who'd sat at my kitchen table just 3 days ago looking at evidence of my husband's affair, knowing the whole time that she was the affair. How long? 8 months since the late night started? Longer? Had they been laughing at me? Pitying me? Had she gone home from my house and called him, told him about our conversation, both of them relieved that Willa still hadn't figured it out? I thought about every time I'd cried to her about Ray's distance, every time I'd worried that he didn't love me anymore, that I wasn't attractive enough, young enough, interesting enough. And she'd consoled me. Ray loves you, Willa. He's just stressed with work. Men get like that sometimes. All while she was the reason he didn't come home. All while she was the one making him laugh, making him feel young, making him happy. I drove home in a complete daze. I don't remember the drive. I just remember suddenly being in my garage, sitting in my car, unable to move. And when I finally went inside, I went straight to the bathroom and threw up. Then, I sat on the cold tile floor, my cheek pressed against the wall, and cried until I had nothing left. Then I got angry. Not the hot, explosive anger that makes you throw things and scream. The cold, calculated anger that comes from betrayal so deep it touches bone. The kind of anger that makes you dangerous. I pulled myself off the floor, washed my face, and made a plan. I called Emma. Honey, can you come over this weekend? I need help with something in the garage. Sure, Mom. Is everything okay? Everything's fine, I lied. My voice was steady now, calm. I just miss you. Then I went to my computer and ordered ghost pepper powder. Carolina Reaper, the hottest pepper in the world. I'd treated chili pepper burns in the ER before. A line cook who'd gotten habanero oil in his eye and screamed for 20 minutes while we irrigated it. A teenager who'd touched his contact lenses after eating hot wings. The pain was excruciating, all-consuming, and worst of all, it didn't wash away easily. I selected overnight shipping and entered my credit card information. The package arrived Friday afternoon, a small, discreet box that I hid in my closet behind my winter sweaters, where Ray never looked. He never did the laundry, never organized the closets, never noticed anything about the actual running of our household. Saturday, Emma came over for lunch. We sat in the kitchen and talked about normal things. Her job as a physical therapist, her husband Marcus and his promotion, their plans to renovate their kitchen. Mother-daughter things. She had no idea I was holding myself together with pure willpower, that I was planning revenge while passing her the salad bowl. Sunday, I went to church. Father Michael asked how I was doing. Blessed, I told him, smiling. Truly blessed. I sang the hymns and took communion and prayed for forgiveness for what I was about to do. Monday, I made Ray's favorite dinner again, pot roast. He ate 3 helpings and fell asleep on the couch watching Monday Night Football, snoring with his mouth open. Tuesday morning, I made my move. I'm going back to Portland, I told Ray at breakfast. Carol's still not feeling well. I'm going to stay with her through Thursday, make sure she's okay. That's good of you, Ray said, barely looking up from his phone. He was texting someone, smiling that private smile again. Give her my best. I will, I said sweetly. Have a good day at work, honey. I packed my bag and loaded my car. Ray left for the office at 10:30. I watched him pull out of the driveway, waited 5 minutes, then went back inside. I had 6 hours before Ray would arrive at Emily's condo, 6 hours to do what needed to be done. I put on latex gloves. I had a box in the bathroom cabinet from my nursing days, left over from when I'd taken care of my mother. Then I went to the garage and opened Ray's Mercedes. The CVS bag was still there, pushed under the passenger seat. I pulled it out and opened the box of condoms, still 8 left, standing in their neat little row. I took out the ghost pepper powder. My hands were steady as I carefully, methodically opened each condom packet, not tearing it, just unsealing it enough to reach inside, just enough to dust the condom with a fine coating of powder. It looked like nothing, like a tiny bit of dust. You'd never notice unless you were specifically looking for it. I resealed each packet carefully, pressing the edges back together. Put them all back in the box, put the box back in the bag, put the bag back under the seat, positioned exactly as I'd found it. Then I removed my gloves, sealed them in a plastic bag, and trashed them in a dumpster 3 blocks away behind the Walgreens. I drove to Portland. It took 2 hours. I arrived at my sister Carol's house at 2:45 p.m., hugged her, and made sure to take a selfie of us together, which I immediately posted to Facebook. Sister time! So glad to be here with this lady. My alibi was perfect. Time-stamped, geotagged, public. Then I sat in Carol's living room and waited. I tried to read a magazine, couldn't focus on the words, tried to watch TV, couldn't follow the plot. Carol kept asking if I was okay. Just tired, I told her. Long drive. At 4:47 p.m., my phone rang. Ray. I stared at it, watching it vibrate across Carol's coffee table. I let it go to voicemail. He called again, and again. 3 more calls in 5 minutes. Then Emma called. I answered. Hi, honey. Mom. Her voice was shaking. Mom, where are you? I'm at Aunt Carol's, sweetheart. What's wrong? It's Dad. Mom, he's in the hospital. There's been some kind of incident. Can you come home, please? What kind of incident? I asked, my voice perfectly level. Is he okay? What happened? I don't know. He called me from the ambulance. He wouldn't tell me what happened, just that he needed me to meet him at County Hospital. Mom, they're saying something about the burn unit. What happened? I don't know, baby. But I'm leaving right now. I'll be there in 2 hours. Which hospital? County. I'll meet you there. It's going to be okay, Emma. I hung up and looked at Carol. I have to go. Ray's in the hospital. Oh my God, Carol said, jumping up. What happened? Is he okay? I don't know yet, I said, grabbing my purse. But I have a feeling I'm about to find out. The drive back was the longest 2 hours of my life. I kept my speed exactly at the limit, stopped at every red light, used my turn signals, a model citizen on her way to check on her husband, who'd had an unfortunate accident. I walked into County Hospital at 7:18 p.m. I knew this ER intimately, every hallway, every room, every face. I'd worked here for 15 years. Emma was in the waiting room, pacing back and forth, her face pale and scared. When she saw me, she ran over and hugged me tight. Mom, thank God. What's happening? Nobody will tell me anything. Let me find out, I said, rubbing her back like I'd done since she was a baby. It's going to be okay. Mrs. Morrison? I turned. Sandra Chen, one of the nurses I'd worked with for years, was standing in the doorway. Her face was carefully neutral, but I could see the discomfort in her eyes. Sandra, I said, what's going on? Where's my husband? Can we talk privately? Sandra glanced at Emma, then back at me. She led me to a small consultation room. Emma tried to follow, but Sandra gently stopped her. Just your mother for now, sweetie. She'll fill you in. The door closed behind us. Sandra took a deep breath. Willa, this is delicate. Ray came in about an hour and a half ago with another woman. I let my face show shock. Another woman? What do you mean? They were both experiencing severe chemical burns to their genital areas, like from hot peppers, but very concentrated. It's causing significant pain and inflammation. We had to call in Dr. Patel from the burn unit because our standard treatments weren't working. Chemical burns, I repeated slowly. From peppers. Yes. Sandra was watching me carefully. Willa, the other woman, it's Emily Parker. I stared at her, let the silence stretch, let my face crumble slowly, perfectly. Emily? My Emily? I'm so sorry, Sandra said softly. I can't imagine what you're going through. How bad is it? Bad enough that we're keeping them both overnight for observation. And Willa, Sandra hesitated. When they came in, they couldn't separate themselves at first. The paramedics had to use mineral oil. It was very public. A lot of the staff saw, and she looked even more uncomfortable. One of the EMTs mentioned it to his girlfriend, who posted about it on Facebook. Perfect. Even better than I'd planned. Can I see him? I asked. Room 3, but Willa, are you sure you want to I need to see my husband, I said firmly. I walked out of the consultation room. Emma was right there, her eyes wide. Mom, what's going on? Your father is going to be fine, I said, my voice steady. He had a reaction to something. I'm going to talk to him now. What kind of reaction? And why won't anyone tell me what happened? Let me talk to him first, sweetheart. Alone. Then I'll explain everything. I walked down the hallway to room 3, my old stomping grounds. How many shifts had I worked in this ER? How many patients had I treated in this exact room? I opened the door. Ray was on the bed, covered by a thin hospital sheet, an IV in his arm. His face was red and sweaty, his hair a mess. He looked old, weak. When he saw me, something like relief flooded his face, quickly replaced by fear. Willa, he croaked. Willa, thank God. How are you feeling, Ray? I asked pleasantly, closing the door behind me. I pulled the chair up next to his bed and sat down, crossing my legs. You look uncomfortable. Willa, I can explain. Can you? I tilted my head. I'd love to hear the explanation for why you're in the ER with burns on your genitals and Why Emily is in the next room with the same condition. Ray's face crumbled. Tears actually started rolling down his cheeks. Willa, please, I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. How long? What? How long has it been going on? He closed his eyes. 8 months. 8 months, I repeated. My voice was still calm, still pleasant. 8 months of lying to my face. 8 months of late nights at the office that were actually late nights with my best friend. 8 months of making me feel crazy for wondering why you didn't want me anymore. I'm sorry, he whispered. You're sorry you got caught, I corrected. You're sorry you're in pain. But you're not sorry for what you did. If this hadn't happened, you'd still be doing it, wouldn't you? Every Tuesday and Thursday at Emily's condo while I sat at home thinking you were working late. Ray's eyes flew open. How did you— I followed you, I said simply. Last week, I watched you go into Building C. 20 minutes later, I watched Emily go in after you. That's when I knew. Willa, do you know what that felt like? I leaned forward, watching my husband and my best friend walk into the same building. The woman who was at our wedding, who held our daughter as a baby, who I've told everything to for 35 years. It just happened, Ray said desperately. We were both lonely. We started talking and it just— Don't you dare say you were lonely, I snapped, and for the first time, my calm mask cracked. I've been here, Ray. Every single day for 42 years, I've been here. I worked nights to put you through law school. I raised our daughter alone while you built your career. I moved cities for your jobs. I retired early so you could focus on making partner. I've been here, waiting for you, supporting you, loving you. And you were lonely? I didn't mean— You told me it was your blood pressure medication, I continued, my voice shaking now. 5 years ago, when we stopped being intimate, you said the medication killed your libido. You seemed so upset about it, so frustrated, and I felt guilty. I thought it was my fault somehow, that I wasn't attractive enough anymore, that my aging body didn't inspire you. I blamed myself, Ray. Willa, but it wasn't the medication, was it? You just didn't want me. You wanted someone younger, someone who made you feel young, someone who wasn't your wife of 42 years who'd seen you at your worst. Ray was full on crying now. Please, please, Willa. Don't throw away 42 years over a mistake. We can get counseling, therapy, whatever you need. I love you. I made a terrible mistake, but I love you. You threw it away, I said quietly. Not me, you. I stood up to leave. Willa, wait. Ray grabbed my hand, wincing at the movement. How did this happen? The burns. Did you do something to the condoms? I looked down at him. Our eyes met, and I smiled. Prove it, I said. I pulled my hand away and walked out of the room. Emily was in the hallway. She looked terrible. Her hair was a tangled mess. Her mascara smeared down her cheeks, her face red and swollen from crying. She was in a hospital gown, leaning against the wall like she could barely stand. When she saw me, she started crying harder. Willa, please let me explain. I'm so sorry. Emma was standing next to her, staring between us with growing horror on her face. Mom, what's going on? Why is Aunt Emily here? Why is she— I looked at my daughter, my beautiful, strong daughter who deserved to know the truth about the people who were supposed to love her. Aunt Emily, I said clearly, loudly enough that several people in the waiting room could hear, has been having an affair with your father for 8 months. The hallway went silent. Everyone stopped, stared. Emma's face went white. What? You're sleeping with my father? Emma's voice rose, echoing down the hallway. You're my godmother. You held me when I was a baby. You were at my wedding. How could you do this to my mother? How could you do this to us? More people were coming out of rooms now. Patients, visitors, staff members. I saw phones come out. People recording. It just happened, Emily said desperately, reaching for Emma, who jerked away like she'd been burned. We didn't mean for it to happen. We tried to stop, but you didn't, I said calmly. You didn't stop. You kept going, every Tuesday and Thursday for 8 months. Did you laugh about me? Did you pity me? Emily's face was horrified. No, No, we never. I came to you 3 days ago, I continued, my voice still calm, still steady. I showed you the evidence. The hotel receipt, the condoms. I cried on your shoulder about my husband cheating, and you sat there, looking me in the eye and told me to give him a chance to explain. You told me not to do anything drastic. You were protecting yourself, not me. I was trying to what? Cover your tracks? Buy more time? Figure out how to break it to me gently that you'd been screwing my husband for 8 months? Mom, Emma said, tears streaming down her face. Your father told me, I said, looking at Emma now, that he was lonely. How's the burn? I turned to Emily. Still painful? Emily's eyes went wide. You did do something to the condoms. You could have seriously hurt us, Emily shrieked. We had to be separated by paramedics. Do you know how humiliating that was? The whole hotel staff was staring. The EMTs were trying not to laugh. Someone probably filmed it. Humiliating? I stepped even closer, and she actually backed up against the wall. You want to talk about humiliation? I didn't mean to hurt you, Emily said. Yes, you did, I said. Maybe not at first. Maybe it started innocent and you told yourself it didn't matter. But 8 months, Emily? 8 months of lying to my face? You meant to hurt me. You just didn't think you'd get caught. A flash of light made me turn. Someone in the waiting room was recording us on their phone. Another person was typing frantically, probably posting in real time. Good. Let the whole world see. Mrs. Morrison? A doctor I didn't recognize approached, young, professional, clearly uncomfortable. I'm Dr. Patel. I've been treating your husband and Miss Parker. I wanted to inform you that we'll be keeping them both overnight for observation. The exposure was quite severe, and we want to monitor for any complications. Of course, I said pleasantly. Whatever's best for their health. Also, in cases of unusual chemical exposure, especially involving intimate areas, we have to file a report with hospital administration. There will be an investigation into how this occurred. I understand completely, I said. These things do happen. Allergic reactions can be so unpredictable. Dr. Patel's lips twitched slightly. Indeed. If you'll excuse me, I need to check on my patients. He walked away. I turned back to Emma, who was staring at me with a mixture of shock and something that looked almost like awe. Mom, she said slowly, did you really ghost Pepper Dad's condoms? Would you like to get coffee? I asked. I think we should talk, somewhere more private. We went to the hospital cafeteria. Emma got coffee. I got tea. We sat at a corner table, away from everyone else. Tell me everything, Emma said. So I did. When I finished, Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she started laughing. Mom, she said, wiping her eyes. Holy shit, you ghost peppered Dad's condoms. Language, I said automatically, but I was smiling. Mom, you're a legend. You're an absolute legend. I can't believe. She stopped, her face getting serious. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Aunt Emily was like family. I can't believe she'd do this. People surprise you, I said. Not always in good ways. What are you going to do now? Divorce, I said. I already called Martha Stevens. She's the best divorce lawyer in the state. With Ray's adultery, I'll get the house, most of his pension, and spousal support. My phone had been buzzing nonstop. I finally looked at it. Texts, Facebook notifications, missed calls. I opened Facebook and saw it immediately. The video was everywhere. Someone had filmed the confrontation in the ER hallway. You could hear my voice clearly. The post already had hundreds of shares. The comments were overwhelming. Good for her. That's what cheaters deserve. Ghost pepper justice. Someone had even made it into a TikTok with a trending sound. Mom, you're going viral, Emma said, looking at her own phone. There's a hashtag. Ghost pepper justice is trending. Well, I said, taking a sip of my tea. I suppose the truth is out there now. We sat there for another hour, talking, really talking, in a way we hadn't in years. Emma told me she'd known something was wrong between Ray and me, but she hadn't wanted to interfere. She told me she was proud of me for standing up for myself, for not just taking it quietly like so many women of our generation had. You taught me to be strong, she said. You taught me never to settle. I'm glad you finally took your own advice. When I finally drove home that night, to my house, the house I'd helped pay for, the house where I'd raised my daughter and built my life, it was after midnight. I was exhausted, wrung out, but I also felt lighter than I had in years. The next morning, I went to Martha Stevens's office. She was waiting for me with divorce papers already drafted. "Mrs. Morrison," she said, shaking my hand, "I've been following your story on social media." "Quite the scandal." "Yes," I said. "I suppose it is." "Well, it makes my job much easier. Adultery cases in this state are straightforward when we have this much documentation and public acknowledgement. Your husband won't have a leg to stand on." We spent 2 hours going over everything. "I want the house," I said, "and 60% of the retirement accounts. He can keep his car and his personal belongings. I don't want anything else that's his." "That's more than fair given the circumstances," Martha said. I left her office feeling powerful, in control, like I'd finally taken my life back after 42 years of putting everyone else first. Over the next few days, the story continued to spread. Someone made a podcast episode about it. A women's blog wrote an article called "The Ghost Pepper Revenge: Why This 62-Year-Old Woman is Our Hero." I got interview requests from local news stations, and I turned them all down. I didn't need more publicity. The point had been made. Ray called me several times. I didn't answer. He left voicemails, crying, begging me to talk to him. I deleted them without listening all the way through. Emily tried to reach out too. She sent texts. "Please let me explain. I'm so sorry. Our friendship meant everything to me." I blocked her number. A week later, I went back to the hospital to see Ray one more time. He'd been discharged, but had called Emma, begging her to ask me to come. He looked terrible, pale, thin, older than I'd ever seen him. He was staying at a cheap motel because he couldn't afford anything better. His credit cards were in my name, tied to our joint account that I'd frozen. "Willa," he said when he saw me, "thank you for coming." "I'm here to give you these," I said, handing him the divorce papers. "Martha Stevens drew them up. Your lawyer can review them, but I think you'll find the terms are fair." Ray's hands shook as he took the papers. "The house is mine. You can read the details." "Willa, that house is worth $800,000. You can't just—" "I can," I said. "You committed adultery. You broke our marriage vows. In this state, that matters. You're lucky I'm not asking for more." "My reputation is destroyed," Ray said bitterly. "That video has been viewed millions of times. I'm a laughingstock. The firm asked me to retire early. My career is over." "Good," I said simply. "How can you be so cold?" Ray demanded. "After 42 years, how can you just throw it all away?" "You threw it away first," I reminded him. "I'm just making sure you pay for it." "I hope you're happy," he spat. "I hope this revenge was worth destroying our family." I walked out and didn't look back. The divorce took 6 months to finalize. Ray fought it at first, tried to claim the ghost pepper incident was assault, tried to reduce the settlement, but with all the evidence, the receipts, the photos, the public video, even Emily's testimony when she was subpoenaed, he didn't have a case. The judge awarded me everything I'd asked for. Ray's lawyer argued it was excessive. The judge shut him down. Ray moved into a 1-bedroom apartment on the bad side of town. I heard through Emma that he and Emily tried to make their relationship work for a few months, but it fell apart. Turned out their romance had been built on secrecy and excitement, not compatibility. Emily lost everything too. Her daughter Sophie stopped speaking to her. Her entire social circle, women who'd been her friends for decades, cut her off. She couldn't show her face at church or the grocery store without people whispering and pointing. About a year after everything happened, I heard she moved to Arizona. Started over somewhere where nobody knew her story. As for me, I started living. For the first time in 42 years, I wasn't Ray's wife first and Willa second. I was just Willa, and I got to decide what that meant. I traveled. Paris, Rome, Greece, all the places Ray had said were too expensive or not worth the trouble. I stayed in beautiful hotels, ate at amazing restaurants, and didn't feel guilty about a single penny. I reconnected with old friends from nursing school. women I'd lost touch with over the years because Ray didn't like them or because I'd been too busy supporting his career and raising Emma. I volunteered at a women's shelter 3 days a week, helping women who were leaving abusive or toxic relationships. I told them my story. I showed them it's never too late to start over, to choose yourself, to demand better. Emma and I became closer than ever. She moved back home for a few months while she and Marcus renovated their house. And we spent evenings cooking dinner together, watching movies, talking about everything and nothing. "You saved me, you know," Emma told me one night. "Not just from Dad's bullshit, but from thinking that's what love looks like. You showed me it's okay to fight back, to demand respect, to leave when someone treats you badly." "I should have left sooner," I said. "Maybe," Emma agreed, "but you left with style." I even started dating, which felt terrifying and thrilling at the same time. Coffee dates with kind men who complimented my gray hair instead of suggesting I dye it. Dinners with interesting people who asked about my nursing career, my travels, my opinions, men who saw me as Willa, not as somebody's wife or mother. Nothing serious yet. I wasn't sure I wanted serious, but it was nice to be reminded that I was still desirable, still interesting, still worth pursuing. One afternoon, about 18 months after everything happened, I was having coffee at my favorite cafe when I saw Emily across the street. She saw me too. For a moment, we just stood there, looking at each other through the window. She looked older, tired, sad. There was something defeated in her posture that hadn't been there before. Part of me, a very small part, felt bad for her. We'd been friends for 35 years. That had meant something once. But then I thought about her sitting in my kitchen, looking me in the eye while I cried about my marriage falling apart, all while knowing she was the reason. I thought about 8 months of betrayal, of lies, of her choosing my husband over our friendship, over our history, over everything we'd been to each other. I picked up my coffee, took a sip, and looked away. A minute later, when I glanced back, she was gone. I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no sadness, just a calm, peaceful indifference. That's how I knew I'd truly moved on. Not when I stopped being angry, but when I stopped caring at all. People ask me sometimes if I regret it. The ghost pepper powder, the public humiliation, the way I destroyed Ray's reputation and career. I don't. My mother spent 51 years suffering in silence, swallowing her humiliation to keep up appearances, dying bitter and small. I chose differently. I chose noise over silence. I chose exposure over dignity. I chose revenge over suffering. And I'd make the same choice again without hesitation. You can't protect people from the consequences of their own actions. You can't shield cheaters from the fallout of their choices, and you shouldn't have to absorb their betrayal quietly just to make everyone else comfortable. Ray and Emily made their bed, literally. And when that bed turned out to be full of ghost pepper powder, they had nobody to blame but themselves. I'm 64 now. I live in my beautiful house with my garden and my books and my freedom. Emma visits every Sunday with Marcus, and we cook dinner together. I travel whenever I want. I volunteer at the shelter. I have coffee with friends who care about me. I'm taking art classes at the community college and learning to paint. I'm terrible at it, but I don't care. I'm building a life that's mine, not someone's supporting character. And if you're out there listening to this, wondering if it's too late for you, if you've invested too many years to walk away, if starting over at 60-something is even possible, let me tell you something. It's not too late. You deserve better than betrayal. You deserve better than lies. You deserve a life that makes you happy, even if that means burning down the one that's making you miserable. Sometimes you need a little ghost pepper to make things interesting. Has this ever happened to you or a friend of yours? I would love to hear your story. Can you also do me a favor and subscribe to this channel? This way, we can meet again in another story.